So in this video we're going to look at prototyping and creating interactive elements, interactive actions with our XD projects. Prototypes are really good for testing out your work and seeing if it functions as you intended and designed. I'm going to need to make a few assets first and a bit of artwork to get us going. So bear with me while I put a few things together. I'm going to start by creating a couple of artboards or one artboard. And we'll start with an iPhone 13 preset. I'm going to make a little bit of a mobile website or a mobile app or the wireframe to that. So it's going to be very kind of stripped back design and layout just to give us a good indication of the app's kind of page layout and how and the hierarchy on each screen. So let me jump into it. I'm going to start off by just adding a line to the page. Actually, might just show our layout and kind of designate a kind of a header area to that first screen, just with a line. I'm going to make like an interface element, just a quick little hamburger menu with a few lines. Space that out evenly. And bring that up to 6 with a curved end. Slightly scale it. Something like that is alright. Bit of a logo, just with some text. Oops, that will do. Bit of content on this first page. I think this is going to be like our home page. So I might put a little section header in there. That will do. Maybe a feature image. Or a kind of an image holder, just a graphic to indicate that we've got an image there. Maybe a heading. Make it a bit bigger than that. Paragraph of text maybe. I just had that in my clipboard. Don't need that much. Whoops. Probably about just one paragraph. That will be fine. And we'll finish it off just by adding in a kind of a call to action button down the bottom here. And I'm going to make it link off to my shop page that we'll be building shortly. Alright, so this is the first page of our interactive wireframe that we're working on. So a prototype. A couple of additions here. I'll group that together and we'll make that into a our first component. We'll call it button. That's good. All right, so we've got a button there that talks about, well, indicates that we're going to link from one screen to another screen, and indeed we are going to link off to the shop page. We've also got another interface element up the top here, and we'll group that together. We may as well make that into a component as well while we're here. We're going to need another page to link to, so let's rename this one to home, or another screen to link to. And I'm going to duplicate that by just hitting Command D on the keyboard and kind of making a replica of that. Some of these things we'll use and some of them we won't. I'm going to get rid of the button, the heading. I'm going to make a kind of a little bit of a shop sort of situation with some thumbnails. Don't really need that much text in our little description here. Something like that looks good. I'll group that together. Call this shop. So we've got our second page. Call it shop as well. A repeat grid will help me just quickly flesh out a grid of thumbnails here. If we can fit 6 in, that'd be great. Not quite. I'll just go with something like that. That'll be perfect. Okay, so how do we make links between our different screens? For instance, how do we make our shop button link to our shop page? Well, we do that in the prototype tab. So let's, we've had a quick look at that before, but let's look at it for kind of creating a kind of a web of screens that all link together. So we're over in the prototype tab, and our properties panel slightly changed. We've got some different panels in there. And let's just quickly use the desktop preview to look at how our design is currently working. So of course it'd be good to make another state for our shop button, and I might quickly just do that. We'll head back to the design tab and add a hover state. And in the hover state, I'm going to just drill in there, make it kind of a lighter hover state. Head back over to prototype, and you can see a couple of things happening there. Like when I select my button now, it's got this kind of wire connected to it. And you can see if I scroll over that, it highlights hover. And you can see our component up here does have that hover state. We'll preview the page now. And we can see our hover state enacted there. But we want to also link this button to this page with a trigger and an action. So a trigger is something that causes something to happen, and often in these kind of instances, that trigger will be a mouse click, a hover, or a finger tap. So let's cause a trigger to happen. We'll do that by grabbing a hold of the plus button, or plus little icon there, and dragging that wire over to this other artboard. And you can see it highlighting, and now we've connected those two together with that wire, which is pretty good. And we should be able to see that now when I hover over my shop button, changes to a hand there. And if I click on the hand, we'll link over to the shop there. And so we'll just quickly see what's happening over in our properties window here. We've got our object, which is a component, our shop button. We've got that selected, and you can see that we've caused a trigger by dragging that wire across to the shop page. We've instigated this tap trigger action, or tap trigger, and underneath that an action is going to occur. So once that is triggered, we're going to implement this action, and the action is one of a bunch of different types, and in this instance it is a transition. So it's going to transition to the particular page that I've stipulated in the destination. So by dragging over the wire there, I've caused the destination to be shop, but I can actually manually change that if I want to select from the drop down menu here. And it's causing an animation to occur, so a transition to occur between the home page and the shop page, which is a transition of dissolve. And there's a few different types that we can use. If I change this to slide left, we could see that we'll see that occurring. We just reload that. So that's getting a tap trigger set up and implementing a transition. Might just break here, and we'll get back to this shortly.